Hello, my name is Ian Connors, and today we will be talking about write blocking. So you may ask yourself, I've never heard of write blocking before. What is write blocking and what is it used for? Well, today we will cover that and many other subjects such as write blocking in law enforcement, the difference between hardware write blocking and software write blocking, boot disks, the impact of write blocking, and all of my references in my annotated bibliography. So now we will talk about write blocking in general. So you may ask yourself, what is a write blocker? Well, typically, write blockers are devices used by specialists and law enforcement agencies to acquire information off a target hard drive. Specifically, write blockers are gadgets that allow the acquisition of information from a drive without actually generating the risk of accidentally damaging or altering the contents on the drive. By granting the write blocker access to read commands, but by blocking write commands, the write blocker can safely collect this targeted information. The write blocker got its name because of the fact that it blocks write commands. Additionally, write blockers use drive protection, which limits the speed of the drive that is attached to the write blocker. This allows for drives unable to be read at higher speeds to be slowed to something capable for the write blockers. Hard drive write blocking was invented by Steve Bress and Mark Menz. Write blockers have some differences and are not all the same. Some of these devices work and are even built differently than others. Traditionally, there are two ways to construct a write blocker. The first is to allow every command but those on a list to pass from the computer to the drive. The second is to specifically block write commands, but let all others pass through. The two different types of write blockers are native write blockers and tailgate write blockers. Native write blockers use the same interface for in and out commands like IDE to IDE write blocking. Tailgate devices are opposite and use different interfaces for each side, like firewall to SATA write blocking. For more information on these different write blockers, you can visit this website. This write blocking technology is mostly being used in court. Due to its use in digital forensics, write blocking is mostly used for law enforcement to safely extract evidence off of a suspect's hard drive. The United States National Institute of Justice operates a program called Computer Forensic Tool Testing, or CFTT. The United States National Institute of Justice requires top-level tool requirements. The requirements for write blockers to be used in court are: a hardware write blocking device shall not transmit a command to a protected storage device that modifies the data on a storage device. A hardware write blocker device shall not return the data requested by a read operation. A hardware write blocker device shall return without modification of any access significant information requested from the drive. Any error condition reported by the storage device to the write blocking device shall be reported to the host. If these requirements are not followed, all evidence must be nullified in the court. This is extremely important because it may be difficult for officers to obtain these hard drives through warrants or other means. Law enforcement agencies must also have up-to-date write blocking technology. If their devices are outdated, then the defense can argue that their evidence may have been tampered with. How can write blockers affect court cases? Well, evidence obtained from the hard drive of a suspect's computer can be used in nearly every category of crime. When obtaining this digital evidence, investigators must be positive that the data seized from a computer to be used as evidence has not in any way been altered in the process of capturing, analyzing, and controlling it. This process is similar to the one that we did in class, using the forensic toolkit on our virtual box and the flash drive that was given to us. This is because there must be no chance that the evidence was tampered with by law enforcement specialists in any way to wrongly incriminate the suspect. Attorneys, judges, and jurors cannot accept any evidence that has not been validated as legitimate. How can an attorney prove that evidence was not tampered with? Well, the National Institute of Standards and Technology sets forth procedures to confirm evidence is legitimate. These steps ensure no program may modify the contents of the drive and include setting up a hardware jumper to make sure the disk is read only when it is possible to do so, using an operating system and other software that are trusted not to write to the disk unless given explicit instructions, and using a hard disk write block tool to intercept any inadvertent disk writes. The first point refers to a jumper, and the second and third point refer to software and hardware write blockers. Like software write blockers, hardware write blockers prevent writes to storage devices. However, the concept that separates the two is that hardware write blockers have write blocking software installed on a controller chip inside of a portable physical device. The main purpose of a hardware write blocker is to intercept and block a modifying command operation. This is because if evidence of this was to be found in a storage device, then it could be argued that the information was tampered with. Hardware write blockers may include such functions as monitoring and filtering activity that can be transmitted or received between interface connections and onto the computer's storage devices. The hardware write blocker is placed in between the host and the storage device and prevents any modifying command from ever reaching the storage device. For more information on hardware write blocking, go to this website. Hardware write blockers are made so that they can be easily used. They are constructed with built-in interfaces to numerous storage devices. They can also connect to a variety of types of storage through the use of an adapter. The visual indication of current functions operating on the hardware write blocker can be observed using LED lights and switches. The outcomes of a hard drive write blocker are separated into 4 functional categories of operations. These are modifying, read, information, and other non-modifying. Software write blockers have the same function as hardware write blockers, to prevent writes to the storage device. Nonetheless, software write blockers work differently than hardware write blockers. Software write blockers are installed on the workstation of the forensic investigator. The National Institute of Standards and Technology specifies that a software write block tool operates by monitoring and filtering the commands on a drive that are sent from an application of operating systems through an interface. Software write blockers can be fitted to run on an individual operating system, or it can be an independent boot disk. Software write blockers are also much easier to use than the hardware write blockers. They are delivered through a CD or USB and have no requirements for somebody to open the case. Another important perk of software write blocking is that it is able to write block as many devices that can connect to your computer. Software write blocking is faster than hardware write blocking because the software operates at a quicker rate than the hardware on a computer. Software write blockers may also be preferred over hardware write blockers because they are much cheaper to purchase. Software write blockers are easy to obtain. Reliable software write blockers include SafeBlock XP, a software-based write blocker designed for the Windows XP operating system; Mac Forensics Lab Write Controller, a software-based write blocker designed for the Mac operating system X; and Linux Software Write Blocker, a small patch that enables Linux software write blocking. These software write blockers are run on 32 and 64-bit versions of their operating systems. Boot disks are another form of write blocking. It is considered a removable digital data storage medium that a computer can load and run on an operating system. However, computers need to have a built-in program that can load and execute a program that meets the boot disk standards. Some of a boot disk's many uses include operating system installation, data purging, data recovery, BIOS flashing, hardware or software troubleshooting, software demonstration, and administrative accessibility. Why are boot disks important? Well, they are used by law enforcement agencies during the investigation of evidence found on a suspect's computer. When a digital forensic scientist turns on a suspect's computer, they run the boot disks so that they can ensure no information will be changed. This is because a boot disk will run the hard drive off of the operating system instead of normally turning on the computer. Like we learned in class, this is due to offenders attempting to booby-trap their computers. Some criminals install programs that will cause their operating systems to crash and erase all evidence when they are turned on improperly. Since the boot disk will run on a new operating system, this information will not be lost if this situation occurs. Operating systems will not be able to write new information when a computer is run with a boot disk. Write blockers have a very positive impact on the field of digital forensics. They have helped to improve not only the technology of computer sciences, but also the court and sentencing processes in the judiciary system. This helps to find criminals guilty and to make the world a better place. Write blockers are also constantly improving. This technology can help with many other devices in the same field. Like taught in the University of Rhode Island's HPR 108 course, students can now understand the basic concepts of how technology can strongly influence not only our personal lives, but help law enforcement officers crack challenging cases. Over the course of this lecture, we have learned many things. Some of these include what a write blocker is, how write blockers are used in court, the differences between hardware and software write blocking, what boot disks are, and the importance and impacts of write blockers on society and in law enforcement. My annotated bibliography can be found here for all of the sources that I used to create my project. Thank you for listening and viewing to my presentation on write blocking technology. If you are further interested in this subject, you can visit my website at the link below. If you have any questions for me personally, my email is here at ian_connors@my.uri.edu. Thank you again, and have a good day.